So we are live. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Money Talks. Definitely happy to have a good friend of mine, Latoya Gasson, on with me. She's a leadership coach and great friend, very, very intelligent. And we're just excited to kind of talk to you about how you can take that leadership skill in this present moment, whether you're a leader or not. What can you do to try to get yourself going, and how this skill, how does this play a major role in your life? Real quick, appreciate all 1,000 plus of you members who are part of the group, watching, participating, commenting. If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and follow us and subscribe on the YouTube channel as well. This video will be there as well. Also, this video will be in our video archives where you can see pretty much all the conversations I've done with people. But yeah, Latoya's awesome. I can't wait for you guys to hear from her, hear her story. But I'll let her tell it as instead of me.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. I'm very appreciative that you asked me to be a part of your platform and share my story and my experiences with, your folks. So I want to first say thank you, because this is something that I'm extremely passionate about. So, if I seem to, go off to the left, just reel me back in.
Yeah.
So I can start going.
Yeah, we want it all.
But anyways, I'm very excited about this topic. I'm extremely passionate about leadership, and not just leadership, but ultimately leading yourself. And a lot of people, when they think about leadership, it's always like, oh, that's, corporate, or I have to have a title within a business. But ultimately, what leadership is influence. So it's influence, and anyone who has either, if you're a parent, if you are in a leadership position in a corporation, if you have friends and people tend to follow you, you're the leader in that situation. So that's pretty much what I want to talk about today. But before I get into that, you asked for me to share my journey.
Absolutely.
So again, my name is Latoya Gasson, and I am a leadership coach. However, a lot of folks like to now say that I'm an intentional coach, because that's my favorite word. It's all about being intentional and purposeful in what it is that you do in your life. So, I may be, transitioning over to that side of, helping people become a lot more purposeful in their lives. But before it happens with anyone else, it has to happen with yourself.
Absolutely.
So I'm a coach. However, I'll start from a business perspective. So my whole background has been in leadership pretty much for over maybe 12 years. However, I made the decision in 2018 to leave my 9-to-5 job and start entrepreneurship. Now, that wasn't something where I was just like, yes, I'm leaving to start entrepreneurship. But as a woman of faith, I believe that was something that God placed in my heart to leave my job. And that wasn't easy, right? Because, you got that steady income coming in.
Exactly.
It's like, and then everyone asks you when I put in my resignation, they're like, well, what are you going to do for money? What are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. But of course, I have financial responsibility. So I had money saved and all of those things. So it's not a hasty decision that I made. Absolutely. However, that's the big question, is what are you going to do for money? So I left my job, not really knowing what I wanted to do, but I knew I had a dream to start my own business. And that was to help new leaders within organizations, come into their leadership, because a lot of times, we get so entrenched in a system where we don't know our value, we don't know what we bring to the table. And because other people are not saying that we are a leader, we don't have those skills, then we minimize our own potential. So that was something that I was passionate about, being a young leader when I started, to now gaining the experience I had. I wanted to help those new leaders who wanted to be in the place that I was. So left my job, excited, like, yeah, I'm free. I don't have to have nobody tell me what to do.
Exactly.
Right. So 2019 hits, and that's when I go full throttle in my business. I had no clue of what I was doing. Entrepreneurship does not run in my family, so I'm the trailblazer for that. But I want to get into corporations. I want to help their teams. I want to develop them. I see where the gaps are in these companies. Let me get in there. So at first, and I don't think I minimize how hard entrepreneurship was. I just think that I had a different idea of what it entailed, and they were skills that I did not possess because one, I'm an introvert, which some people may defer that I'm not, but it's like, so I'm like, what? I have to get out and I have to network with people to get my business to be where it's at.
Yeah.
And I also did not take into effect the financial piece of that
Right.
would also be a part of this transition going from a 9-to-5 job.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am pounding the pavement, getting out there. Mind you, I was blessed with speaking opportunities within that first year. I had some coaching clients that I got within that first year, but I also had some obstacles that I faced. And like I said, I was still kind of spending money as if I still had a job. Okay.
Exactly.
But as an entrepreneur, when you start, some of us are not as fortunate to just hit the jackpot, right? And saying this is what it is. So I was faced with not only starting a business, but then realizing, wow, as an entrepreneur, I need a whole different mindset than this 9-to-5. So towards the end of last year, I kind of put a stop to everything because I felt like the direction that I was going was not it. And my desire was to get into corporations, but what I found is that women were more attracted to what I was bringing to the table. It was women who were looking to either leave their jobs, they didn't know how, or they are new in leadership and don't know how now to lead a team, or women who are just afraid to take a leap of faith in something that they know God is calling them to do, but that fear is setting in and they don't know how to do it. So I'm like, okay, why is this what's happening? But then I'm so trying to bang on the doors, trying to get into this other area.
Right.
So I put a pause to everything and I had to do some self-reflection on myself. And I'm like, okay, Toya, this is what you want to do, but the calling that you have is, might be a little bit different. So I shut down. I made the decision and was just like, okay, I'm not going to network anymore. I'm not going to do anything. I'm shutting everything down. Right. Let me get with me. And because before I could lead anybody else, I had to lead myself.
Right.
So I had to make a pivot and make some hard decisions in my life that, okay, what are you really trying to do? But also really tapping into myself and quieting down other voices that was telling me what I needed to do, and find that within myself. So now that I'm on that journey myself, that is what now I'm looking to give back to others as I coach, as I train, and as I speak. So that's a little bit, of the journey that I've been on, from a faith perspective, because a lot of decisions that I made, I didn't understand how things were going to work out.
Right.
Did I cry? Did I kick? Did I scream? Did I do all that stuff? Because I was in unfamiliar territory.
Right.
So I didn't know how to maneuver. But my faith was strong enough to keep going because I had that belief in myself, that knowing within myself to keep going. So that's just a little bit of background on me.
No, phenomenal. Definitely. I just love learning about other people's journeys. It's there are similarities, but no journey is alike. But one of the first things you kind of touched on was the personal responsibility aspect. So here we are, we're about 4 or 5 weeks in, when you think about where people are. So many people have lost their jobs. Many businesses are suffering. People are trying to, there's a common phrase that is said, but then it's changed up, meaning, hey, I can't wait to get back to normal. I'm like, well, first of all, what we left, were you too excited about what we left? And then number two, when you come out of this, do you honestly think it's going to go back to the exact same? And the fact is, it's really not. So one of the pieces that I saw that really kind of touched me a little bit was the fact that parents and people married and people, business owners, they all got bombarded with just everything. It's just like a collapse of every situation. So they had to become teachers. They had to become just a full range of leaders in the home very quickly. Not to mention they're in the process of losing their job. They're not quite understanding what next steps they need to take. And the reason why I say that is that personal responsibility. Obviously, I'm a money coach and all that type of thing. A lot of your progress, whether it's money, whether it's, and we're talking about more a life aspect, but no matter what you're going to do, you have to take some stake in the problem. And the stake that you have is just as far as you. So you yourself said, hey, I don't really want to be at this job. What am I going to do? What is it that I really want to do? And I don't think we ask that question often enough of ourselves, but especially in this time, really think about, do you really want things to go back to how it was? Were you really excited about going to that job that you just lost? You were mad because you lost the income, and nobody wants to be pulled the rug out from under them like that. And now you have to understand and deal with problems that you may have seen or heard about with your kids in school, or you just trying to work through their problems with them with homework. You're trying to figure out how do you like get this schedule thing. And all these are skill sets that you may not be necessarily a strength of. So when you think about the leadership, whether you're in a job that's leading or whether you're a small business owner, the personal responsibility aspect is the real key to all of it, because that's what's going to get you going. Because you can expend a lot of energy doing what you don't want to do, and ultimately it's gonna always suffer. You're gonna take a long time doing it. So if you can kind of talk a little bit about those people who now they're inundated in a whole new scenario, and even though they don't kind of know what the outcome may be, the fact is it's not going to be the same. So you know what I mean?
And you said a whole mouthful, so I was like, okay, should I write this down, because everything's coming up inside of me.
Yeah.
the first thing that I want to touch on that you said is that, you know, everybody's in a hurry to get back to normal.
Right.
And it's not going to be normal. Everything is not going to, there is no normal. It's now us creating our new normal. And we have to realize that, you know, there's a system that's been set up, right? And that system we become accustomed to. So now with everything has been shut down, the way that people interact with each other is no longer going to be. Exactly. So it's like, okay, now how do I now show up in, I like to call it my own authenticity? Because that's when it comes to doing your own self-assessment, or your, you know, being self-aware of yourself. Because like you said, I mean, I left my employment voluntarily. Okay. I was proactive in that. Now you have folks that have been involuntarily released from their positions. And those positions may no longer be, because as a whole, we are going into a different direction. The era that we're entering into now is going to be completely different than what it looked like yesterday. And, you know, when you think about now, everybody's at home right now. And I can attest that there are certain people who are at home that are going cray, okay? Because it's like, I need to get out. I can't wait until outside open. I can't, you know, it's just like they just can't do it. Or you also touched on this, where it was like, you know, people who had jobs or were in situations, and they were always, this is my thing, always complaining, right? Like, oh God, I hate this job. Oh, I wish it was like a 5-day weekend. Oh, it's Monday. And now those are the same people who's like, oh, I want to go back to my job. I just want to go back to work. You know, where it's just like, well, this is your opportunity. This is now your time. We have been given the gift of time. And sometimes what we do, we get so caught up in money. And I'm not downplaying that we need finances in order to move ourselves forward in the society that we live in. However, we also have to know that time is precious. And in what we do with that time, it's, you know, that means all the wealth in the world, because now we're really given an opportunity where before we use the excuse, right? And this is for dreamers I'm talking to right now. Oh God, if I had more time, if I wasn't working this 9-to-5 job, I would, start this business, or, I would, start drawing, or I would do all the excuses that we made. And a lot of it was time as to why we could not do it. So now you have the time. So don't say you're bored, because you need to be tapping into yourself, putting a strategy together, and, coming up with something on that internal dream that you had. And then you also talked about parents, it's, and this is like a twofold right now, because everyone's life dynamic has been shaken up. I don't care if you're single. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if you have kids, don't have kids. Everybody's life as they have known it has been shaken. Okay. Has been shaken. So we're at home, working from home. The kids are in the background. Mom, 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 dad, dad, dad. Husbands and wives now have to share the same space with each other. And it's like, dang, I don't even know if I really like you right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, having that, how do we now coexist? Because a lot of the busyness, and this is what people miss. It's not so much I want to go back to normal. I want to go back to where it's loud so I don't have to deal with reality of my situation. That is what people are having a challenging time dealing with, where it's like, get me back out here, because, we can get on Facebook, we can get on Instagram, scroll for 5, 6, 7 hours, Netflixing up. Hey, I've been there, But the main thing is that we are using that as a distraction to really face the reality that we are in. So parents, or, husbands and wives now that are now needing to shift and say, okay, who's leading this situation now? How do we now communicate with each other that we have a functional household? Okay, you work upstairs, I work downstairs. I had somebody living with me temporarily, and I've been independent all the time, nobody living in my house. So now I had somebody living with me at a time, and she worked from home. And I'm just like, I have my workspace, and I'm like, okay, you can have my workspace and I'll just work downstairs. But it was still, when she would be on the phone, I couldn't just be chopping it up and laughing and doing cutting up on what I wanted to do, disrupting what she had going on, So, those are things that we have to look at when it comes to communicating with each other, having those real raw, because this is what this situation is causing. You can't run. Okay, you go to the grocery store to get away. That's all you got. Okay. But you got to come back home.
Yeah, you do got to come back. You can't be at the grocery store for 6 hours. Like,
you can't do it.
Like, what you did come back with a bag of chips. Like, really? No.
Right. So you have to structure. This is the time now where it starts with practical things. As communicating, getting yourself organized, because a lot of us don't know organizations. When I made the decision to become an entrepreneur, when you go into a job, it's plug and play, right? You don't have to think.
You're given a system.
Right. You're stepping into a system. Now it's like, it's a mindset shift where I'm like, man, now I need to figure out what I need, because, the first part of me going out on my own was, I was watching TV because I'm like, I got so much free time. But then it's like, girl, you need to make some money. Okay, you can't be sitting around, or you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna have a TV to watch. So it's a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift that needs to happen, and being compassionate to others, because at this time you're gonna realize that not everyone functions like you. And not to get irritated or annoyed because, hey, your spouse is talking to you, some type of way that maybe you're not used to. Again, that's coming to having conversations about how you guys can coexist. For those of you that are leaders and lead teams, now you're virtual. Don't think that someone is disengaged because they may have their video off while you're trying to do a meeting. Because now they have someone yelling mommy and daddy in the background that they need to take care of. So I think we need to be compassionate and empathetic in these times, because we're all going through a shift and a change that can be very traumatic. Okay. It could be very traumatic to a lot of people, but understanding that, okay, I feel like now we're in a shift where we are kind of settled into this is what it is. And again, we go back to the beginning. Now it starts with you looking at yourself.
Yeah, it's so good. And a lot of times, what is described as that hard conversation, and it's difficult. It's mostly a hard conversation because it's a conversation that you don't want to have. So when I was a leader, financial institution, there were times where I had to let someone go, and I knew what was about to happen. I could see it walking down the line. I was forecasting, watching the behaviors, watching the documentation. I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work out. But the fact is, how do you be okay with those scenarios? Because as some leaders right now, you're in the space of, if you're going to let somebody go, you're probably going to let somebody go you've been wanting to let go anyway for a while. This now just gives you the excuse. But then others, so you're going to hold off those good, solid teammates. But the same thing kind of with your spouse. There are a lot of things that you like, hey, if I can at least start to figure out, hey, how do we have our schedules? Like, you work this way, I work this way. Like you mentioned, you go upstairs, I go downstairs. And it's a constant grace line that's going through because you're trying to function. Both of you work and need to work, but you have to work in your best space. But the same piece is, there are things that should have been discussed or need to have been discussed in your relationship, in your businesses, all that stuff. It should have been discussed already. It's just now you're at a pivotal point, pertinent point where you actually need this person's help. So if you weren't getting that support that you needed from a boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, and you know, so now you're in a space and you're living together, like, hey, I can't handle putting the kids down for homework and cooking and all these things and clean the house and all this type of stuff, plus work. I'm going to need you to kind of pick it up a little bit for me. I'm going to need some support that way. But then, to your point, when you become a business owner or when you're doing any job, there is a point in every scenario, parenting, marriage, spouse, whatever it is, there's a majority of stuff that you like doing. And then there's always that 30, 40% of stuff you don't want to do and have no desire, have no energy to do. But that's what you have to do to make it function. Those things are probably the things that probably catch you off guard, because there are a lot of things you now have to do, and that might have taken up the majority of your time now, to where you're like, what, you know, saying, how do I kind of function? So when you think about like a business owner now, how do you serve? Many people have just been in shock because you're like, I can't even have my storefront. I can't have, my business might not be one that I can take online. What do I do now? And you're kind of faced with facts of, I might need to shut down the business. Well, the fact is, you could love your business, and because of the environment, it may not survive. But it also may be a thing of, hey, indirectly, I was kind of starting to withdraw from this business and I want to do other things. So now you might have a different opportunity to move forward.
Right.
Kind of spend some time and even go deeper into the skills of how you need to change and do some things different to try to survive, not even survive, but thrive in the new atmosphere.
Right. I think starting anything new or change is difficult. People don't like change. We kick and we scream if we are now placed in a situation that's unfamiliar to us. When you talk about business owners or folks who are in a position where they have others' livelihoods in their hands, right? Now they're the ones making that decision whether this person can feed their family or not, right? Because that's the way that we look at it. You know, those are not easy decisions as a leader to make.
No.
You know, but I also want to say to you, to those of you, and for those folks who do have to make those challenging decisions, because letting anyone go, whether that person was a poor performer, they got on your nerves, whatever, it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, if you have a heart,
right.
let somebody go.
Right.
That's not the ultimate goal. But we have to realize that, hey, and I like to use the word released. When you are released from a situation, I always like to look at it is that there's something on the other side for you to do.
Right.
And a lot of us, we like to keep trying to grab a hold of that old thing because that's what we know. And I also like to say that the way we look at jobs, or if we're working for anybody else, or even if we are business owners of our own things, because sometimes we need to release ourselves from what we're doing. It's like, okay, let me just go ahead and let myself go from this. I gotta let myself go. So it's like when you're released, it's like, okay, like what have I not allowed myself to do because I'm afraid?
Right.
Because I'm afraid of what's on the other side.
Exactly.
And so many times we're afraid because we think about what other people may think about us, because it may be contrary to what, people as a whole may think. So it's that fear that happens. But let me go back. So when you have to release somebody, it's being compassionate. Right. I go back to that word. You have to be compassionate and empathetic. And hey, sometimes things are just what they are. Yeah. And if you're on the other side of that part of being released, I want to challenge you to tap into the creativity that you have within yourself, and I think in one of our conversations last week, I believe it was, that we talked about we're extreme. We could be extreme as individuals and say, you know what, John, I want to be John Maxwell. And if I ain't John Maxwell tomorrow, if I don't have 1,500 people watching my videos or this and that, I'm going to quit. Right. No, it's not about being extreme. Right. Take baby steps in what you want to do. Start with writing it down. Right. Y'all spend some time writing down your thoughts on what you want to do, because writing is one of the most powerful tools you can do. Right. Because we have so many different ideas and thoughts. And even when it comes to the situation that's happening now, write down what you're feeling. Right. Be raw with yourself. Ain't nobody else gonna read it but you. Right. So be real with where you're at right now. Think about those dreams that you have put to the side that now you can dust off and bring back, and then for that business owner where it's like, okay, it's time for you now to release that business that you had, then yeah, there's going to be a mourning. There's going to be a grief process to anything that you lose. But then it's like, okay, I grieve that. Now let me create something that's new for me to do. And that, and only you can create that, for yourself as a business person. So my story as well is the same thing. I wanted to get into corporate. I wanted to go physically in businesses, have one-on-ones with their employees, have one-on-ones with their supervisors and managers, and help them with soft skills on how they relate and how they can positively influence those that they led from, a healthy perspective. But now, that may not be the thing anymore. Right. It may be now I have to move my business on Zoom. I have to now speak on YouTube. Right. I have to now, go live, where those are things that I'm really not comfortable doing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, and so I have to do my own growing in that space, because I know that that's what I want to do, but it's embracing what is and saying, okay, I have to make a decision, because that's one thing as a leader, you make a decision. You ain't in and out. I don't know what I want to do. Make a decision, because being a leader is about taking risk. Right. And if you're trying to play it safe all the time, you're going to stay in the same place that you are. If you don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation with the person you need to have that conversation with, you're going to stay in the same place. If you don't want to make that move from that environment that you know that you shouldn't even be in, then you're going to be in the same place. So we're not always going to know the answer. And that's where faith comes in. Faith comes in, because faith, we don't know. We don't know what's on the other side until we take the step, until we make the decision, until we are just firm on what it is that we need to do. And a lot of all of this is faith. We don't even know if we're going to be here tomorrow. We don't know, because all of us were making plans. Let me tell you, So, I was going to be a novice to do my whole little bikini competition. I'm training
Okay.
hard. Okay.
Right.
I'm training. I'm,
Right.
disciplined on this eating. I'm
Right.
4 weeks out. 4 weeks out from being on the stage. And all of a sudden this happens.
Right.
Okay. I'm like, what?
Right. I've been starving myself eating sand, trying to make it happy. Right. Eat these little morsels. Yeah, it's really important for people to understand that, like you said, it is a dreamer. Everybody has some sort of dream, and it's okay to dream. And when you think about a dream for your life, dream for your business, however that may look, you have an opportunity you have to make a decision, because if you don't, a decision will be made one way or another.
Right.
The only thing is, will you be on top of the decision, or will you be on the bottom? And for a lot of people, you put faith in security. And I put out a stat early on about, I guess the question was never, should we try to is your job secure, but rather, is it essential? We didn't really know this type of scenario would come. And a lot of people, I have this skill set, I'm working for this company. Oh man, my stuff is stable. Well, that company dried up. Maybe you're working in the hotel industry or travel industry, or even restaurants and things of that nature. So many different lines of business had to shut down. So was it really secure? Was it really, not to say your skill set is secure. It's a way that you can utilize that. But that job wasn't necessarily secure, because the economy is a rapidly evolving thing. And as it evolves, there are things that get taken out, and then there are new things that get replaced with those things. And it's kind of to your same idea that you alluded to as a business owner. Who you wanted to serve when you first came out isn't exactly who actually came to you, who you had the ability to serve. It's not that you lose the dream of, hey, I want to serve corporations and things of that nature, but who I'm wanting to serve, or who I need to serve right now, is different, and I need to serve them, because likely as I'm serving the people I need to serve, I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm understanding that this is going to take me to the place that I want to serve. I thought it would be awesome to start a YouTube channel. I thought, taking money talks, all that. I have a grand idea about it. What I didn't understand is there's a lot of video and scripting and editing and photography. There's a lot of nuts and bolts of skill sets that aren't exactly mine on the back end that make that product work really well for you to be able to communicate to the person that's trying to receive information from you. And if you don't understand that, that is a crucial piece in any step, whether you're trying to get married, whether you're trying to start a business, whether you're in professional life, whatever the case may be, you always have to look at, hey, am I truly ready for this blow up? You know what I mean? So I could there are many people who go viral probably every other day or every day on YouTube or internets and things of that nature, but you never really hear from them anymore after that. They just had that one trick to freedom or celebrity, but they weren't able to use that celebrity to garner themselves more stability or take themselves to a life of what they wanted, or what made them viral was something that they were purely doing it by happenstance. It's not something they like, but now they're stuck doing that because that's what people expect from them. That's what people want from them, but they're not happy. So understanding and having that humility, if you're letting somebody go, understanding and having that humility of, hey, am I truly happy? Is this something I'm trying to do? What skills do I need? Where am I going to go? But all of these different steps that I'm taking is to prepare me for this grand dream that I'm walking towards. And your dream will evolve, because at the end of the day, that corporation that you might have been trying to get to may not even be there when it's all said and done.
Right. So one thing you said, Jonathan, is that the security, right, that we put into having a job. And I don't know if I said this already or not, but I'm going to repeat it if I did. about, even if you are on a job right now, or you left a job or whatever it is, the perception of having that, I don't even know if it's the perception, but using that as a place where you build your skills. Mm-hmm. Like the way that you look at that place of employment, look at that as your training ground to get the knowledge and the information that you need to know to then utilize that to what it is that you are going to build. Mm-hmm. Because, I know we like to think of wealth as money, right? And wealth is finances. And let me tell you, you ain't going to be wealtly working at a job. That is just not going to happen.
Well, it's going to take a long time.
It is like, it's just, so, God has given us the ability to create wealth. And that's wealth in knowledge that we get. That's wealth in understanding that we get. And sometimes it's not in that place in which we're in that we're going to get that understanding, and we're going to get that wisdom, and we're going to get all of that. But while you are there, gain the skills that you need that will translate to what it is that you ultimately want to do. Because if we have it, I don't think any of us seen this happening. You know what I'm saying? No one saw this happening. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to keep my job because of security. But that's a false sense of security that we have, and if anything, I hope that this has opened our eyes to see that, nothing is secure. Like these things that we put our security in, it's not.
Yeah.
So you have to really tap into yourself, and because then that's where you're ultimately gonna find who you are in times like this. Right. When you lose a job, are you depressed and all of these other things? Like, why? Because that's only coming from you suppressing something within you. That's depression. It's like you have to figure out what is that thing that that's causing you to get into that state of mind. So I like when you said that, where you're I hope that we have all seen now that these systems that we have set up or that we have thought to be security are not, because we can be released tomorrow, because businesses are looking out for the business. Exactly. They are looking out how they can sustain their business. Okay. Right. So as individuals, we have to look at just as much as they need us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we shouldn't make it a thing where our whole being is so attached to someone else's dream or someone else's vision, because you should have an individual vision for yourself. Exactly. You should have an individual, purpose for yourself, all of those things, because when all of that comes crumbling down, you still have a foundation to land solid on. No matter what may come against you, you have a solid foundation. Right. So if anything, it's the only thing that's secure is in what you know, what you believe about yourself, and that you have that tenacity, you have that determination, you have that ambition, you just have that grit. You know what I'm saying? To get yourself going and to go in the direction that that your heart is calling you to go. Right.
And that's one of the things that I will say for me, when I started to understand money the way it was, because my job history is great, but then it's spotty, whatever. I've left jobs, I've had jobs fire me, all those type of things. So the way I looked at money and the way I kind of found comfort in looking at it from a resource standpoint was I was like, I can't predict whether or not I'm going to be at a job, but I can stabilize my own scenario to where if the business is going under, or if a boss don't like me, or whatever the case may be, we have to part ways. I'm still fine. I'm going to be fine regardless. And to your point, when I took jobs, it was always about, you work over and above your peers. Yeah, I'm trying to do every last project that will flex my skill set, that will teach me something that I didn't know, that will show me something that I didn't understand about this business. Because when I leave here, and I will leave here at some point, the next person is going to be wondering, well, what did you do? Did I do my core job, or was I really integrated in a lot of different pieces of the business, because they want someone who has a robust skill set and all that type of stuff. But then other piece I learned was who I value, whether it's person I'm dating or being married, or not even just being married, but jobs, business, who I value may be standing in the way of who values me. And I do understand that concept with a lot of people understanding that their job you're putting in, but people struggle even from a leadership standpoint. It's all about, does our teammates feel value? Even in small business, do my teammates feel value? How can I make this person feel value? I do value them, but how can I communicate that to them where they're getting and receiving that piece? And the fact is, a lot of people weren't feeling valued at their employer. 70, 80% of people are disengaged at their employer. So if they're disengaged, they're not feeling valued here, but then these skills, you could be making more money, or your job could be more flexible, or you could have a whole lot more options at another opportunity. But the current place is standing in the way of you going to get that other place. Because, yeah, it's initially, I mean, the cycle that I've seen is when you leave a job and you left, you even feel bad that you left. Even though you're taking a job that's better and lines up with everything you want, you even feel bad that you left. And then it takes a couple weeks of being at that job for you to be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm submitted. I'm confident in this decision. It may not work out, what have you, but the fact is you can stabilize what decisions you're making. And you have to understand that sometimes you're being, to your point earlier in the discussion, busy, or you're being so distracted by all this busy work that you're drained emotionally to where you don't actually look for that next opportunity, or you're not even paying attention in this world. Maybe they're already reaching out to you, but you're not even paying attention to that next opportunity. And so it's just lost, because who you value, who you're committing to, doesn't value you, or they're standing in the way of the person who truly values you. So good. So good. So a lot of this is more, like you were saying, the personal journey. It's all more a personal journey, where people have to start to get real. So you kind of mentioned earlier, hey, you need to write stuff down. You need to journal, things of that nature. What are things, as you started, and maybe you could pull from people you coached or your personal journey, what are things that you've actually done when you think about, hey, these are the action steps I took when I was kind of faced with the unknown? This is what I did next. This is how I started. Yeah, I asked myself some questions, but this is what I actually did next.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it was writing. Writing is like key. And I know I mentioned that already. And just to, go back on that, the reason why writing is so powerful is, like I said, we have a lot of thoughts in our mind, in our head, and we think we can figure everything out, or it seems, like it's so much, right? We make it a mountain, like in our heads, but once you start writing it down, you become clear. That's the whole reason why you want to write it down, is because you start to gain that clarity and you start to see patterns, whether it's the same thing that keeps coming up, or if it's, you may get an idea that you just write that down. That's the reason why you want to create that habit of writing. Another thing is reading.
Okay.
I believe that leaders are readers.
Right.
So if you read books, I'm a personal development person. I read a lot of, faith-based books that help me with my growth. So that gives me a level of understanding of what I need to do. And it's not just reading the books. It's, okay, how do I now, after I've read this, I can now use this tool that they placed in there and then actually do it. Because a lot of times I know a lot of people who say they read, they watch this and that, and they ain't made no change, right? You're like, okay, how can you read a self-development book or something like that and you ain't changed? Because it's just, I want to have a collection of books on my shelf that looks pretty, but then you don't want to do that inner work. So writing, reading different books to help you move past where you're at, and also like having mentors. Like if you are the smartest person in your circle, or you're the leader in your circle, I mean, you're not growing. So you want people in your life who have gone or have experienced the things in which you are now going through. So you don't have to go through those same pitfalls, of trying to do it by yourself, because, I can speak from that. A lot of times I wanted to do things by myself, whether it was pride, whether it was ego. I just didn't, no, I'll do it. But what I realized is, as I continue to grow myself and elevate and evolve and all of that, I need to be around people who are smarter than me, people who can call me out on my stuff and me not getting my feelings about it and be like, okay, why does this keep happening? Okay, maybe I need to change something that's going on. So read, find mentors or people that, may not be what you're accustomed to being in your circle. I mean, those are the top 3 things. And prayer. Prayer is number 1. Okay. I mean, let me back all that up and say prayer, because I can tell you that, and I know this may not be for everybody, and even if you're not, a faith person or whatever, I mean, it can still hear me out, please. Okay. When you don't spend intimate time, okay, with God, because God created all of us. And it's funny, and I heard this, read where it's like, we have all these technology things and they come with instructions. Exactly. And obviously the person who created the technology, the laptop or whatever, they know how it was created. They know how it's supposed to function. I can tell you, I have an Apple laptop right here, and I haven't tapped into none of the potential I'm supposed to be using it, because I didn't read the instructions, so I'm just using it based off of surface on what I have. So it's the same for us. Like, we don't go to the creator to figure out, okay, how was I built? And it's not going to be like everybody in the world. You're going to have certain quirks about you. That's fine, because that's just you. But we get so caught up on what the world looks like that we then try to mold into somebody else, that we miss who we're supposed to show up and be. And I'm only saying this because I'm talking to myself. I'm living it right now. I got the souvenir, the t-shirt, all that. So that's the reason why you want to pray. Get into your quiet space and pray. Ask those real questions. And that can even be a part of your journaling, can be that prayer, asking questions that maybe you might be afraid to say out loud, because you will get an answer. So pray, spend that intimate time with God, because then that's when he's going to reveal to you and you can make those bold moves. Because I can tell you, every move that I've made, and I have stories for days and we ain't got time for it. There's a lot of faith moves that I've made, and those moves I would not have made if I did not have a relationship, not a religionship, a relationship with God. So I just want to say that for somebody who maybe needs to hear that part, that in this time of lockdown, don't consider it, punishment. Oh, I want to get outside. Like I said, we are given this time for a reason. Exactly. Spend it wisely. So those are the 4 things I have. Yeah. And I know number 3, you mentioned kind of the reading books. I think that has a bad reputation because number 1, if you're going to do, a lot of people do audiobooks. If you're going to do audiobooks, try to put some sort of page turner in there at some point. Scientifically speaking, rubbing your hands on the pages, going through that process of reading out loud, that helps generate ideas from your brain's capacity. But it's also the fact of when you read a book, the personal development book, it's really the experience you're having. To your point, it's another way of being intimate, whether with yourself as well as God. Your mind is thinking through it. I mean, I read a lot of finance books, but I end up somehow from a finance book, I might take a few good nuggets out of it, but for the most part, I'm looking at my business different. I'm looking at my marriage different. I'm even looking at myself different because of the process of actually reading through, hearing somebody else's thoughts. Because a lot of these books, no matter personal development, you could be reading a science book, but whoever wrote it, they're writing through their personal journey. And I think it's the personal journey part that usually connects the spiritual issue
piece of us so that we all are growing through it. But to your point, yeah, you take bits and pieces of what somebody has done before you, but ultimately you're not going to be able to recreate what somebody else did because you're different. Yeah. How you do it, you're going to have some components that are the same, but how you do it is exactly going to be different. And that's how it's intentionally supposed to be, but you have to kind of develop that mechanism in place. Writing things down. So important. Having your goals written down, having them in a place where you're constantly reviewing them. Ultimately, you have to take action. And if you're a business owner, if you don't want to wake up every day and do your business for free for that person who might perchance catch you today that could have some sort of benefit, then you're not really truly being real about your business. If you don't want to do the task that you don't like for your business to operate and function at a high level to get yourself going, you're not truly serious about being a business owner, because every business has accounting, every business has marketing, every business has technology. If it don't have technology, it's going to have an issue. Every business has some sort of operations. Every business has sales. And in each one of those sectors, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And based off how you operate, you hire based off what you can't do and what you're not a good expert at. But when you're first starting, you have to do it all.
Yep.
And if you don't do it all, that does two different things. One, you leave yourself the risk of overpaying somebody and giving away money and not getting true value when you do need to hire somebody, because you don't even know how to expect the work.
Right.
And that's a part of leadership. Leadership doesn't know every single nuts and bolts of everything, but they know enough that, hey, yeah, this don't look right. You know what I mean? This ain't exactly what I wanted. This is how it needs to be fixed. But then, am I truly getting the value? Am I getting a fair price? Am I giving somebody a fair price for what that service deserves? So it's so important that people understand that aspect. I know you have something. Go ahead.
Because I'm like, man, like, because that's like legit my story, right? So when I started my business, like, I mean, I'm on social media, but you know, it was personal. So once you start doing business, you use Canva to create all these pretty posts and do all that stuff, and you know, marketing, and then you got your website. And you know, I was that person where I'm like, you know what, if I had the money to, you know, pay somebody to do all this stuff, I would do it. And essentially I did, you know, squander some money because it was just like, I didn't know. But the minute that I trusted myself, because that's the thing too, I think we have all these, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to know everything from the beginning, that we don't want to start nothing. You know, it's like, I'm scared to be a beginner. I want it to look perfect, like right off the bat. I want it to, you know, where we don't even trust ourselves to know that, hey, you know, admin stuff is not my thing. I know that. But I at least took a shot at knowing the ins and outs of those certain things and at least try it, even though I know it's still not me. But you know what, if I do hire someone, I know how to go behind their work and then look at it. If you're not a finance person, you might want to know the basics, because somebody might try to steal money from you on the back end if you don't understand basic concepts of how your finances work. So I think it is important. So when you were talking about that, I was like, yep, that was me. Like, you don't want to pay all these people, but you realize that you want to know some part of what you're doing, all these, the marketing, you want to, you know, even if the person, you know, someone who knows how to do it, have them show you certain things, because you cannot be ignorant to what's going on in, I would say, even in your life, because everything's connected. Your life, your business, you know, your children. We like to, you know, compartmentalize different areas of our lives, but no, how you do one area, if, you know, I'm just going to use this as an example, and I'll calm down, but like communication, if you don't know how to deal with conflict on your job or whatever, you're not going to know how to deal with conflict in your relationship.
You're not. And the thing is, you're like, I think people, I'm a big conflict person. I go head on into conflict. And the reason for it is because I'm like, well, I'm not talking to somebody like yourself that's exactly like me. And even at some point, I mean, we have a good repartee, but the fact is there's some point where we're going to differ on some concept or some idea. And the fact is, it's not my idea is greater than somebody else. It's from the clash. In the middle, there is the solution, and how do we kind of work together of, okay, I see things this way. Maybe your idea can work a little bit stronger than mine, but you know what? I'm going to peel back. We can maybe alter it this way, change it up a little bit, and then move forward. The same thing is with marriage. I know for me personally, I did not want to get my wife upset because the first like 2-3 months, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not trying to argue with her. She'll leave me. You know what I mean? if I disagree with her, yeah, she'll leave me. And it comes with the fact of, yeah, if we don't disagree, this is going to be a long-term problem because I'm ultimately not going to be happy. Now, yeah, that doesn't give me a pass where I'll be like, no, you wrong. And this is A, B, and C, how I'm finna rattle it off. No, we're going to have some structure. We're going to have a way that we communicate to where we understand, hey, we disagree on this. What's most important? This is what I'm thinking. This is what you're thinking. It doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. And how do we work through the problem? The same thing is with teams. You have to work with, whether you're a small business or even a person that's you're a solo business owner and you want to work with people and you're like, yeah, I want to work with them this way, but I don't really like these aspects of their business. Well, that's a conflict, and you have to be able to have enough integrity and confidence that, number one, does it really matter to the overall product that you're putting out? And if it does, then that's a conversation that needs to be had. Or if it doesn't influence the product that you're putting out, you might need to kind of self-assess, like, hey, I might need to let that piece go because that doesn't even matter to what we're doing. So I know that is very, very huge when you think about how do we kind of really self-assess, how do we understand conflict? And even this, there are so many ways to lead. There are so many ways to deal with money. There are so many different ways. Ultimately, you have to get to a point where you understand this is how I lead. This is where I'm the best way, and understand that I can lead, but I can only lead in this capacity. Everybody's not going to be able to lead a Wells Fargo or a Chase or be president of the United States. Everybody's not going to do that. But on the same manner, everyone's not going to be able to lead 1 million YouTube subscribers or 250,000 people in a Facebook group or whatever, what have you. Everybody's not going to be able to do that because they don't have that skill set to do it. But you do have a portion where you have to lead. You have to, number one, lead yourself. Everybody should lead themselves, and then they should take action. Even if your action, and understand, is not going to be a fine-tuned result coming right when you take action. So as soon as you decide, hey, I'm going to launch this business, you get flooded with all these requests. Yeah, it doesn't really quite work that way. I would say that's an exception, but the rule is hey, I launched this business. Cool. I might get a few launch. I might get a few comments. I might get a few thumbs up, things of that nature, but I'm not going to get an overwhelming request, a bombardment of things that just supersede like, hey, now I'm successful overnight. Most people who are successful, it took them 10, 15, 4, 5 years, depending on what segment you're in, to become successful because, number one, they had to learn things about their business. They had to learn and pivot constantly because that's the entrepreneur way. You got to take some chances. You got to try some things, and you got to figure out, okay, this is how I operate. This is how I need to operate, and this is what my customer wants. Mm-hmm. So good. What else? I know I kind of soaked up people, but what else? Just in case you have some final thing. Oh, here's a good one. How do people actually reach you and get connected with you?
Yeah, so they can reach out to me on Facebook at the Latoya Gatson. I do have Instagram, but I'm rebranding that, so it's not available right now. But Facebook for sure. the Latoya Gatson, and also they can email me at info@latoyagatson.com.
And we'll also put that information in a Facebook post as well. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll link that information in the description below. But yeah, so fun. I definitely appreciate you jumping on here, Latoya. I hope everyone was able to get some good nuggets. If you got bits and pieces, take some time. It's a long cast. If you got to run, it'll be good, something good to listen to. But feel free, but understand that the ultimate guide and the ultimate real reason that you really need to take action is you got to take personal responsibility over your life and begin to take step forward. So once you acknowledge, hey, I can control this thing, the next thing is, hey, let me write down a plan. Let me research, educate myself, learn about this skill, how I'm going to go into it, and then do it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be hard, but understand that once you decide to do it, it may not take off right away, and that's okay. But that's what you need to get the steps going.
Right.
Anything else? I don't see any questions right now, but
Okay.
feel free to reach out to us, and I'll talk to you guys soon.